Welcome back to Operation Freedom, folks. I'm Dr. Dave Janda, broadcasting from our ancillary bunker, linked to remain Freedom Bunker in the People's Republic of Ann Arbor. We're here for you every Sunday, 2 to 5 Eastern, 24/7 at davejanda.com, with extra shows, content, guest analysis, archives to all of our shows. Please stop on by at davejanda.com. You will never be disappointed. It's a 100% guarantee. But you will be educated and empowered. And our goal is to then have you take that information and network it to all those you know and love. Awaken them to what's really going on. Our world is laden with fraud. And there are very few sites and very few individuals that will give you the straight truth. We do at davejanda.com, and so does my next guest, 24/7, Bill Holter. His website, billholter.com. Bill was involved in a lengthy career in financial services and actually retired in 2006, moved his family out of the United States because he saw what was coming in 2007, 2008. He then returned in 2011 and makes his home in the great state of Texas. He is a broker with Miles Franklin, milesfranklin.com. Bill is one of the best forensic economic analysts in the world, and he's also a precious metals specialist. It's my honor to welcome back Bill Holter. Bill, welcome back to the Operation Freedom Show and platform.
Thank you for having me back, Dave.
So, Bill, I have been, let's say, I'll be kind, chastised by a number of people by my saying that the world financial system is in the process of imploding, that they will take it completely down before the election, or if Trump happens to scooch by essentially winning by 20, thereby winning by 1 with the fraud based in the system. But if he does get by, that they will then crash the system after the election to make it look like, oh, this is all because Trump was elected, but that the financial system has been rigged, pre-positioned to come down either before the election or after. Many people have chastised me for that. So, Bill, you're the economic expert. Am I off on that?
You don't know what the timing is. Yeah, that could be the plan. Actually tank the system if Trump wins. I mean, that's a very real possibility, but it's going to happen either way. It doesn't matter who gets elected because it's math at this point.
And let's talk the math. So many people this week, in particular on Friday, contacted me and said, "Oh, Dave, the economic, the employment numbers are actually fantastic. I mean, it was supposed to be a creation of 140,000 jobs, but there are in fact 254,000 jobs created." Oh, Dave, no, everything is fine. Everything is fine. And if anything, the Federal Reserve that cut rates by 50 basis points, 0.5%, a couple weeks ago, they shouldn't have done that. Well, Bill, when you look at these numbers on Friday, yet again, more fraud. Over 750,000 of those jobs that were created actually came from, when you look at the numbers before adjustments, the government jobs on an unadjusted basis were over 750,000 jobs added. Bill, this is all fraud, smoke and mirrors. Yet you got people still buying into this stuff.
Yeah, they make the numbers up as they go, and you just, all you need to do is ask, why did the Fed cut a 0.5 point? If everything's so good, why did they even have to cut a 1/4 point? And a 0.5 point, the only time the Federal Reserve has ever done that has been as an emergency, like a panic move. So the Federal Reserve cutting a 0.5 point tells you right there, something below this waterline is getting smoked. It's either that or they're completely not nonpartisan, and they're cutting rates to try to juice the system going into the election.
And Bill, many people are also discounting the BRICS have a big meeting coming up in a couple weeks. And many people are discounting that meeting, and they're discounting the fact that they could well announce that they are moving ahead with their what they call the unit, their Enbridge system, which is at a minimum back 40 to 60% backed by precious metals, in particular gold. Bill, what's your take on this this BRICS meeting coming up in a little less than 2 weeks?
Yeah, actually, the number is 20 to 40%, and I suspect it'll be at the lower end of the range rather than the higher end of the range, the gold backing for the unit. Yeah, that starts the 22nd. I believe it finishes the 24th or 25th. They're obviously going to come out with some kind of communique, and that communique, whatever it is, will be dollar negative. If they could actually come out and say, and give a date that they're going to go live with that unit, you will see absolute chaos in financial markets, and you will see commodity prices go through the roof, led by gold and also silver.
And Bill, when these fraud numbers came out on employment on Friday, gold and silver, as usually occurs when the fraud surfaces, got hit. But then all of a sudden, Bill, gold and silver really pushed significantly higher, only to be brought back down to earth. Bill, what was that big push in the middle of the day going up? Did the boys just go out to lunch that are running the algos and the scripts to drive the paper price of gold and silver down? What's your take on what happened on Friday?
Yeah, you're right. For years and years, we've seen counterintuitive waterfall events. When news comes out that should be bullish for gold and silver, you see them get hit. And, that's happened literally for 20, 30 years now, and they've done it with paper. Gold and silver are trading differently now. And the reason they're trading differently, the demand is overpowering the paper sales. You've got real physical demand that is, there's no end to it. I mean, central banks across the globe are buying gold, and they're doing that in anticipation of the new BRICS currency. And as a matter of fact, on Friday, Russia announced that they're also going to be buying silver. And that's the first sovereign to ever talk about silver. But if you look at the demand from China, you look at the demand from India, I mean, those two alone come pretty close to buying up all the physical metal that's produced. I mean, the central banks combined are buying the full amount of gold that's pulled out of the ground each year. So we're in a deficit, supply and demand deficit for gold, and a supply and demand deficit for silver. And you're seeing that now in the activity, like Friday's action, it went down and it was immediately bought. And we're at the point now where traders themselves are going to start to smell blood in the water.
Mm-hmm. And Bill, people talk about, Russia launching a nuke, whatever, hypersonic, whatever it might be. A real hypersonic, tell me if I'm off on this, based on the big paper derivative positions of the banking world, not just in the United States, but throughout the West and throughout the world. If Russia really wanted to launch a nuclear-tipped hypersonic financial weapon, they would do exactly what they talked about on Friday and have a huge buy of silver, which would create what you've always talked about, a failure of delivering of physical silver to the markets, which would implode the markets and send gold and silver into the stratosphere. Am I off on that?
No, that's exactly right. And I've said for years that a failure to deliver would basically kick off the derivatives time bomb, if you will. The reason silver is so important is it's such a small market. It's 1/10 the size of gold. That it comes. Silver is so small, you can't have silver exploding higher and gold ignoring it. And the absolute kryptonite to the world's fiat currencies, the direct competitor, is gold. So if you had gold running, day after day, $100, $200 higher, that would be a complete loss of confidence, and the whole system runs on confidence.
So, as you mentioned, Bill, you have Russia announcing that they're buying silver. They're also buying gold, platinum, palladium. You have India's silver imports as of the end of September up just silver in India up 715% year to date. You have Saudi Arabia recently was caught buying 160 tons of gold in Switzerland.
Right.
Russia announced its gold purchases were going to escalate from $1.1 billion rubles per day to 8.2 billion rubles per day. Multiple other central banks and sovereigns buying gold and as Russia's saying, silver. So, Bill, paint this out. How in the world the paper suppression markets with their algos and scripts are falling apart at the seams with all this physical buying? It's hard to date this, but Bill, I don't know. I don't believe in coincidences. We got this BRICS meeting coming up. We got all this physical buying of these entities, sovereign nations doing this. This can't last much longer as far as a lid holding the beach ball, the beach ball the size of Milwaukee, under the surface of the water much longer as it relates to gold and silver, can it?
Right. It's a supply and demand thing, and there's only so much above ground supply, and current demand is voracious, and it's eating up whatever inventories are left. So it's a situation where the suppression scheme has been done with paper, and I've seen studies where there's 300 paper ounces sold short on silver for every 1 ounce that exists. Mm. And once you get the price running, and once you get the price running, then you're going to have momentum buyers coming in, and they don't care whether it's silver or soybeans or whatever. The momentum buyers will come in, and what will happen is there will be a failure to deliver, and there's 299 ounces out there that supposedly are silver ounces that don't exist that are going to have to cover. So you're talking about a moonshot in gold and silver, unlike any market you've ever seen. I mean, prices will go up by orders of magnitude from here, and make market history. That's what we're going to watch.
So, Bill, when you have a handle, as I mentioned, you are a trader and a broker at milesfranklin.com. By the way, you can follow Bill 24/7 at Bill Holter, Holter, BillHolter.com. So what are you seeing on the retail? So, Bill, give us your indication. What's happening on the retail side with demand and supply, and what do you see happening we've already talked about the sovereign side. What are you seeing on the industrial side? The companies that utilize gold and silver in their product. Where do you see it on the industrial side, demand and supply?
Yeah, let me talk about the industrial side first. And there are not really industrial uses for gold. Gold is basically just money. Silver, however, does roughly half of every ounce that's produced currently is going towards solar panels. And I mean, the deficit is probably close to 400, 500 million ounces per year that are not produced, that are being consumed. So the industrial side, it's overwhelmingly, they're killing the inventories. From a retail standpoint, we had a good first 4 to 5 months of the year, and then things got really slow in North America. And that's the reason you've seen premiums come down. The premiums a year ago, for instance, on Silver Eagles were probably, I don't know, $14 per coin. Now they're 5 or 6. So premiums have collapsed because the demand in North America, retail demand, really slowed down in latter June, July, August. And I can tell you it's picked up dramatically in the last, call it 4 to 6 weeks. I mean, myself, personally, I've done over $40 million worth of business in the last 4 weeks.
Now, Bill, why do you believe that's the case? Are people, what's been the mass awakening event that occurred that you see?
I don't know if you could say it's an event, but I think bigger money is waking up. I mean, these are people that have large amounts of money, and a good amount of them have been new to buying gold or silver. And the reason they're doing that is they're losing trust in the banking system. They're losing trust in 1,000 new jobs. I mean, people see with their own eyes and they're acting. They realize that there's risk in the system and they're trying to get out of the system. And the best way to get out of the system is buy gold, buy silver, and they cannot bankrupt. That's the whole key to why you want to own gold and silver, because they have no liability that no one else is promised to you.
Well, we just saw this week, Bill, the Bank of America from Zero Hedge. Bank of America customers report widespread outage where once they were able to access their accounts, which some people still are having some issues reportedly, when they got to their accounts, they were zeroed out. Their account balances showed zero. Right.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's internally a financial problem. I suspect it's strictly a technical problem. But what this does is it illustrates to you that all of a sudden you can wake up one morning and nothing works. You can't get money out of your bank. Your credit card doesn't work. Nothing will work. The only thing that will work in that scenario is something that is universally accepted all over the world, and that is gold. I mean, gold and silver are monies that cannot bankrupt. They can't be devalued long term. They can short term with paper contract sales, but they cannot be devalued long term. And that's the allure of owning gold, owning silver.
So, Bill, as best you can, play out the scenario you see going into the first week of November, what some people still call an election, and what you see playing out after the election into early 2025 from a financial standpoint.
Yeah, I hate to tell you, Dave, I can't do that. The reason I can't do that is I've been on the record since last November wondering if we would even have an election. And I still wonder, are we going to have an election or won't we? If it looks like they can't cheat enough for the left to win, there will be some type of false flag where the election gets canceled. So going into it, coming out of it, you got to know, first off, who's going to be installed as president, to know what's going to happen afterwards. And going into it, I would just tell you, anything and everything is on the table. But the bottom line is we are a bankrupt nation. I mean, the amount of interest that we're paying at this point has already surpassed the military. And we're probably 25-30% of tax receipts are being used for interest only. So, I mean, we are a bankrupt nation, and the Federal Reserve itself is insolvent. And I mean, if you look at their balance sheet, they're upside down, they're bankrupt, and losing money on a weekly basis.
So, Bill, when folks contact you about precious metals and say, I've been watching this thing and I have all these paper assets, and I think I better finally listen to what you've been saying all these years and better get some financial insurance and get some physical gold and physical silver. What are the biggest mistakes that some of those people end up making, other than waiting too long to contact you and other folks that sell precious metals?
Yeah, once you've decided to purchase metal, I think the biggest mistake is to try to buy the cheapest form of metal, which is bar form, because in a breakdown, who's going to accept a bar? Because you can't test it, and they're easily counterfeitable. It's important, if you're an American, it's important to own U.S. mint lineage coin, because that will be the most difficult to confiscate. In silver, the price of junk silver versus bar silver or generic coins are basically the same. The thing is, junk silver, dimes, and quarters are the absolute best form for barter. And that's where we're headed in a system breakdown. So don't go in trying to buy the cheapest form, because that means you're going to own the poorest form. And the poorest form is not going to be functional in a system breakdown.
So, Bill, in our final 2 minutes together today, educate our listeners in the best way to get in touch with you, the best way to follow your efforts on a daily basis.
Yeah, you can just go to my website, billholter.com. I put articles up every day with commentary to them. There is a contact button on my website if you want to reach me, or if you want to go directly to my business email. It's BHOLTER @proton.me.